Now, before we even get into what Aubrey just did on the timeline tonight, I need you to understand something, because what I just witnessed might be the most delusional, most embarrassing, most historically illiterate revisionist stunt we have seen in this entire 2-year saga. The 6ix9ine god is melting, the OVO owl is glitching on the branch, the certified lover boy is out here liking posts like a heartbroken ex scrolling at 3 a.m., and with everything unraveling at once, the lawsuit dismissed, the album underperforming, the narrative crumbling. This video is about to go to a level we have not hit before on this channel. So get ready. Leave a like right now. Tap that subscribe button. And I need you to say it with me because you already know what time it is. Now here's where it all falls apart. Yeah, you already know how this goes. And honestly, that might be an understatement this time, because what we are looking at right now is a grown man, a 38-year-old multi-platinum superstar, sitting in his mansion double-tapping a random tweet that claims Kendrick Lamar, the man who obliterated him in front of the entire planet, was somehow a chess piece being moved by Jay-Z the whole time. Let me say that again so it lands. The 6ix9ine god, the self-proclaimed biggest artist of a generation, is now co-signing the theory that he didn't actually lose to K. He lost to HOV. Because apparently the man who wrote Not Like Us wasn't even the real opponent. He was a pawn, or a rook, or a knight, or a bishop, or whatever piece Aubrey needs him to be this week so he can sleep at night. I mean, come on, man. Come on. And listen, before we get deeper into this, let's stack up everything that's happening around Aubrey right now, because context matters. Kendrick just wrapped one of the biggest tours of the decade. The Super Bowl halftime performance is still being talked about 6 months later. GNX went diamond-adjacent numbers. Meanwhile, over in the OVO camp, Iceman, or whatever we're calling that album at this point, dropped, did its little numbers, got its little streaming week, and then quietly slid off the conversation like it never existed. On top of this, the UMG lawsuit, the one Aubrey filed trying to prove that Not Like Us was pushed by bots and defamation, got tossed. Dismissed. Thrown in the trash by a judge who basically said, "Get this Twitter thread out of my courtroom." And alongside that, you've got new pressure from every direction. J. Cole quietly working, Future doing Future things, and even the younger generation of rappers looking at Aubrey like an artifact in a museum. So yeah, this is really about to be something. Leave a like if you think Aubrey Graham needs to log off Twitter and go to therapy. Leave another like if you think the OVO owl, the DoorDashers, the Yes Men, and the 6ix9ine god defenders need to stage a private intervention before he likes a post accusing Barack Obama of ghostwriting Euphoria. And leave one more like if you genuinely believe that at this point, if Kendrick sneezed in Los Angeles, Drake would tweet that Jay-Z paid for the pollen. We are powered up. We are locked in. And now let's actually get into it. So here's what happened. Over the past 48 hours, screenshots started circulating across X, across Instagram, across every hip-hop blog with a pulse, showing that the certified lover boy himself was liking posts on the We Love Hip Hop Network page and other accounts pushing the theory. And I want you to really hear this theory because it is comedy that Kendrick Lamar was never actually the mastermind of the battle. That Kendrick was a puppet. That the real puppeteer, the real chess grandmaster, the real architect of Aubrey's public humiliation, was Sean Corey Carter, DHOV, the man who is currently a billionaire and could not care less about whether Aubrey Graham feels validated in 2026. And listen, have you lost it yet? Because I need you to understand the timeline here. When first-person shooter dropped and Aubrey and Cole were talking about the big three, Kendrick was not on a Jay-Z payroll. When Like That dropped and Kate said, "No big three, it's just Big Me," Jay-Z wasn't in the studio moving pieces. When Push-Ups came out, when Taylor-Made Freestyle got pulled down, when Euphoria hit, when 616 and Ella dropped, when Family Matters launched and got neutralized within 30 minutes by Meet the Grahams, and then when Not Like Us turned into the biggest rap record of the decade, Jay-Z had nothing to do with any of that. Zero. Zilch. The Super Bowl announcement, the Roc Nation co-signed, the halftime performance. All of that happened after the battle was already over. After Aubrey was already cooked. After the body was already in the ground. Roc Nation just showed up with the flowers. So the idea that Jay-Z was the mastermind is like saying the paramedics caused the car accident because they showed up after the crash. It doesn't make any sense. It's revisionism at its most desperate level. And the OVO owl is out here liking it like it's gospel. Now, here's where it all falls apart, because my theories are getting more validated by the day, just like so many other people who've been paying attention. There's the people who saw what actually happened in real time, and then there's the delusional diehards who need a new bedtime story every week to keep believing their guy didn't lose. And clearly, obviously, the perception online right now is that Aubrey is in that second group with them. He's writing the bedtime story. He's the one tucking them in. Once upon a time, there was a Compton pawn who was controlled by a Brooklyn king. It's Shrek 2 logic for grown men. And here's the thesis, and I want you to sit with this one. The The narrative floating around the internet right now, and I'm just commenting on what people are saying, is that this isn't really about Jay-Z at all. This is about leverage. This is about a bargaining tactic. Because remember, the certified lover boy just lost a lawsuit against his own parent company, Universal Music Group. UMG owns Interscope, which distributes PG Lang and Kendrick. UMG also owns Republic, which distributes OVO Sound. So when the lawsuit got dismissed, Aubrey was left standing there with no legal win, no narrative win, no cultural win, and a contract situation that a lot of people online are speculating is up for renegotiation. So what do you do when you have no leverage? You manufacture a villain. You create a shadow enemy. You say the label is against me, Jay-Z is against me, Roc Nation is against me, the whole industry orchestrated my downfall. Because if it was orchestrated, then you didn't lose. You were sabotaged. And sabotage victims deserve better deals. It's smoke and mirrors. It's bait and switch. And clearly that's the game being played. Now, if you're still watching this and you're an OVO defender, and I know some of you are still here refusing to leave hate watching, ready to type in the comments, I just want to talk to you person to person. I want to have a real moment with you. Take a breath. Look yourself in the mirror. And ask yourself one simple question. If Kendrick was really just a pawn for Jay-Z, why did he need Not Like Us to become the biggest song of the year? Why did he need to sell out the pop-out concert? Why did he need to headline the Super Bowl solo? Pawns don't get Super Bowls. Pawns don't go diamond. Pawns don't have entire cities chanting a minor in unison. That's not a pawn. That's a king. And your guy got checkmated. In public. On live television. With a music video shot in his own house. Actually, I'm lying. I'm not being sincere right now. I don't care about your feelings. I said all that so you'd feel comforted for a second and then realize you got played again. Because that's the OVO experience, isn't it? You get set up to believe something's about to happen, a big album, a big response, a big comeback. And then it's just another like tweet and another vague Instagram story. It's the same cycle. Bait, switch, disappoint, repeat. Where is the self-respect? Where are the boundaries? Where is the self-care? At what point do you protect your own peace and stop letting a grown man in Toronto dictate your emotional stability? I mean, some of y'all need to unfollow and go on a walk. Get some sunlight. Touch grass. I'll just leave that there. And have you lost it yet? Because I haven't even gotten to the theories about what happens next. There are a few different directions this could go, and I want to break them down because this is where it gets genuinely interesting from an industry perspective. Theory number 1, and this is the one I think has the most weight, is that Aubrey is positioning for a label exit. He's building a public narrative that UMG, that Interscope, that Roc Nation, that the entire Jay-Z adjacent ecosystem conspired against him so that when his current deal is up, he has grounds to walk. Not legally, the courts already shut that down, but publicly. In the court of public opinion. So his fans will follow him wherever he goes next, whether that's an independent situation, a new distribution deal, or a full pivot to his own imprint with different backing. From a business standpoint, if that's what he's doing, that's actually the smartest thing he could do. If they pulled that off, I'd give them some credit. But I honestly don't think the door dashers around him have the strategic capacity to execute that cleanly. It'll probably leak. It'll probably get botched. Someone in the camp will tweet the wrong thing on the wrong day. Theory number 2, and this is the more chaotic one, is that Aubrey genuinely, sincerely in his heart of hearts believes this. That he has convinced himself after 2 years of therapy sessions with the Yes Men, the Nautalongs, and the Sycophant Squad that he didn't actually lose. That there was a conspiracy. That the label, the Rock, the Illuminati, the Freemasons, the ghost of Tupac, and a Compton chess prodigy named Kendrick all teamed up to take him down. And if that's the case, then this is no longer a business play. This is a mental health situation. And I'm not saying that as a joke, well, I am kind of, but the internet is starting to notice that the certified lover boy's behavior is escalating in ways that feel less like strategy and more like unraveling. Theory number 3 is the pettiest one, and honestly the one I find most entertaining. It's just that Aubrey is bored. The album cycle didn't hit the way he wanted. The lawsuit didn't hit. The Super Bowl was Kendrick's. The culture has moved on. And he is sitting there scrolling, liking posts to feel something. To feel relevant. To feel like the conversation still includes him. Because the second Aubrey stops posting, stops liking, stops beefing, the conversation becomes about someone else. And the 6ix9ine God cannot handle not being the main character. So he keeps himself in the storyline the only way he knows how, engagement bait. It's a grift. It's a facade. It's a leverage play for attention itself. Now, here's where it all falls apart because from the business side, in terms of the label system, none of this actually helps him. Universal Music Group is not going to renegotiate a 9-figure deal because Aubrey liked a tweet. Roc Nation is not going to lose sleep because a Toronto rapper is subtweeting Jay-Z through implication. Interscope isn't going to drop Kendrick because Aubrey feels some type of way. These are billion-dollar corporations. They don't run on feelings. They run on numbers. And the numbers say that Kendrick's brand, culturally, critically, commercially, is at an all-time high. The numbers say that Not Like Us is a top 5 rap song of the decade. The numbers say that the perception, the vibe, the temperature of the culture is decisively pointing one direction. And it's not the OVO direction. The other thing people online are pointing out is the selective blame. Because notice, Aubrey isn't blaming Future. Future was the one who started the whole Big Three pushback. Future was on Like That. Future was the co-signer that made Kendrick's diss records feel like a movement. But Aubrey and Future patched things up. They did the Like That reference on his album. They act like nothing happened. Meanwhile, everyone else who's ever stood adjacent to Kendrick is getting the shadow blame treatment. That's the tell. That's how you know this isn't a principled position. It's a strategic one. You pick and choose who to be mad at based on who you still need in your Rolodex. Future has too many hits with you to be an enemy. Jay-Z is safely at the top. Doesn't rap anymore, doesn't need you, so he's a safe villain. Kendrick is untouchable, so you demote him to pawn. It's convenient. It's calculated. It's clearly obviously not authentic. And have you lost it yet? Because here's what's really wild. 2 years. 2 years. And we are still here. The certified lover boy has failed and failed and failed and failed to move past this moment. Failed to make a diss track that reset the narrative. Failed to make an album that recaptured the culture. Failed in court. Failed at the Grammys. Failed at the Super Bowl by virtue of not being there. And now failing at social media strategy by liking posts that make him look weaker, not stronger. Where is the plan? Where is the action? Where is the redemption arc? Where is any of it? I'm just here watching this play out, and honestly, it is the greatest schadenfreude entertainment of the decade. This is better than reality TV. This is better than a Netflix docuseries. This is a grown multimillionaire slowly, publicly, on his own timeline, dismantling his own legacy, and refusing to stop. And meanwhile, the pressure isn't letting up. Kendrick is still on tour. He's still selling out. He's still dropping. There's rumors of another project on the way. Cole is quietly cooking. Nicki has moved on. The whole landscape is shifting. New rappers are coming up who don't have any allegiance to the old guard. And the OVO owl is sitting in a room, tapping the little heart button on tweets, hoping the narrative he wants becomes the narrative that sticks. Historically, we have not seen a superstar of this magnitude handle a loss this poorly. Not Nas after Ether. Not Ja after 50. Not even Meek after Back to Back. At least those artists eventually pivoted, took the L and rebuilt. Aubrey is refusing. He is digging in. And that refusal is what's going to define his legacy more than any album he drops from here on out. Because here's the thing, and I said this in the last video, I've been saying it for months, accountability is the missing ingredient. That's it. That's the whole recipe. If Aubrey came out tomorrow, dropped a track and said, "Yeah, I lost. Kendrick got me. Here's my new album, let's move on," the culture would embrace him within a week. Within a week. That's how forgiving hip-hop is. But he can't. He won't. Because his entire identity is built on being the winner, the biggest, the number one, the untouchable. And admitting a loss shatters the mirror. So instead he builds a new mirror. He builds a new story. Kendrick was a pawn. Jay-Z was the villain. UMG was the conspiracy. The bots were the enemy. It's everybody except Aubrey. It's always everybody except Aubrey. And that's the pattern, right? That's the through line. From the ghostwriter allegations back in 2015 to the Pusha T battle where he was hiding a child, to the Meek Mill situation to the Kendrick situation, now every single time the story is, "It wasn't my fault, it was them, they set me up, they're conspiring, they don't understand, the culture is against me." And every single time the receipts eventually come out and prove otherwise. It's the same movie, different villain each time. Same protagonist refusing to grow. Let me take you somewhere for a second because I think we need to step back even further and look at this from a historical lens. Because what's happening with Aubrey right now, this refusal to accept defeat, this obsession with rewriting the narrative, this constant need to find a conspiracy, it's not new in hip-hop. It's not even new in pop culture. But what is new is the scale. What is new is the platform. What is new is the fact that we have a front row seat to watch a superstar psychologically crumble in real time, with receipts, with screenshots, with timestamps, with reaction channels and breakdowns and deep dive videos dissecting every single like tweet and vague Instagram caption. Let's go back to 2001. Nas dropped Ether. And I mean really dropped it. Like detonated it. Jay-Z had been the undisputed king of New York, arguably the biggest rapper in the world at that point, coming off multiple platinum albums, multiple classic records, a business empire already forming. And Nas came in with one song and reframed the entire conversation. Did Jay-Z log onto his BlackBerry, because that's what they had in 2001, and start liking posts that said Nas was a pawn for Dame Dash? No. Did Jay come back on Takeover and on Super Ugly, and try to re-enter the battle? Yes. Did the battle eventually just become part of history, with both men eventually reconciling, because they were both adults who understood that the culture is bigger than any one feud? Also yes. That's how legends handle a war. They fight, they lose, or they win, they grow, and they move on. Now look at 50 Cent and Ja Rule. That war was vicious. 50 literally ended Ja Rule's entire career. Ja went from being a top 5 commercial rapper to basically a meme in the span of about 18 months. Did Ja Rule start liking tweets that said 50 Cent was a puppet of Eminem? Did Ja go on Instagram and co-sign theories that Marshall Mathers was the real mastermind and 50 was just the face? No. And trust me, if anyone had a reason to deflect and blame someone else, it was Ja. 50 had Eminem in his corner. 50 had Drive Dre. 50 had Shady Records and Interscope and the entire machine behind him. Ja could have said, "It was never fair, I was fighting an institution." And honestly, some people might have bought it. But Ja took the L. Took the L in public. Kept making music. Kept his name alive. Didn't spiral into conspiracy liking on social media. And then there's Meek Mill versus Drake. Which, let's be real, is the most relevant comparison here because Aubrey was on the winning side of that one. Aubrey was the one dropping back to back, and getting Grammy nominations and having the entire internet clown Meek Mill for weeks. And what did Meek do? He took the L, publicly. Eventually, he came back with more music. He addressed it in interviews. He grew as an artist. He got a whole Netflix documentary about the prison reform movement and reclaimed his narrative in a completely different way. That is a redemption arc. That is how you move on. But what did Aubrey take from that situation? The wrong lesson. He took from Meek's defeat the idea that if you win a rap battle, you win forever. He took the idea that being on the right side of a public clowning made you untouchable. He built his entire post-2015 era on the reputation of being the one who bodies opponents on tracks. And then when a generational talent from Compton with something to prove decided that reputation was worth testing, Aubrey had no roadmap for what comes next. Because his entire identity was contingent on never losing. And that is the psychological trap he's in right now. He didn't just lose a rap battle. He lost his self-concept. And instead of rebuilding it, which is the hard, honest, painful work of actual growth, he's trying to delete the loss from the history books. Like a bad Google review that you keep flagging hoping it disappears. But it's not disappearing. It's getting bigger. Because every time he likes a tweet or goes vague on Instagram, or lets his team drop a barely coded subliminal, the internet digs back in. And every time the internet digs back in, the Not Like Us video gets another 10 million streams. It's a self-perpetuating machine of embarrassment that Aubrey himself is powering. Now I want to talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough in these videos. And that's the inner circle. Because every great collapse has an enabling cast. Every public unraveling has people in the background who could have prevented it and chose not to. And the OVO camp, the team, the management, the yes men, the brand partners, the whole ecosystem, they have a lot to answer for right now. Think about it. You have a 38-year-old man, one of the most commercially successful rappers of all time, sitting in a multi-million-dollar mansion with a full team of managers, publicists, A&R reps, social media handlers, and business advisors, and none of them is sitting him down and saying, "Bro, do not like that tweet. Put the phone down. Walk away from the timeline." Either that conversation is happening and he's ignoring it, which means his ego has fully escaped the gravitational pull of advice, or that conversation is not happening, which means his entire team is just as delusional as he is. And honestly, based on the evidence, I think it might be the second one. Because here's the thing about yes men. Yes men don't come into your life saying, "I'm going to agree with everything you do." They come in as fans, as believers, as people who genuinely thought you were the greatest. And over time, through proximity to power, through financial dependence, through the comfort of the bubble, they stopped being honest and started being agreeable. Because agreeable people keep their jobs. Honest people get fired. And Aubrey has demonstrated, repeatedly and publicly, that he does not respond well to honesty. He responds well to cosigns. So the people around him are in an impossible position, or rather, they've put themselves in an impossible position by prioritizing the paycheck over the person. And the result is what we're watching now. A man with no honest mirrors in his life, liking tweets on Twitter, convinced he's still the main character of a story that ended a year and a half ago. You know what the OVO camp needed? A Sandy. Like in Greece. Not the makeover Sandy, the original Sandy. Someone who was going to walk up to Aubrey in the hallway and say, "Tell me about it, stud." Except in this context it would be, Tell me why you're on Twitter at 2 a.m. liking Jay-Z conspiracy posts when you have a whole album rollout to focus on. Someone who cared enough to be uncomfortable. Someone who wasn't afraid to lose the room. Instead, they got a whole team of Danny Zuko's who will agree with whatever the group consensus is because that's how you survive in the OVO ecosystem. And listen, we've seen this before. We've seen what happens when a superstar surrounds themselves with enablers instead of advisors. We saw it with Kanye. We saw it with Diddy. Well, with Diddy we saw it in a very different and far more serious way. But the structural pattern of the bubble is the same: power, isolation, yes men, loss of accountability, escalating behavior. Now, I'm not equating Aubrey to Diddy in terms of what Diddy is accused of. Absolutely not. But the structural phenomenon of the power bubble is real, it's documented, and it is clearly operating in the OVO camp right now. The question is, who breaks the cycle? Who is the person brave enough to walk into that mansion, sit across from the 6ix9ine God and say, we need to talk about the timeline likes. And we need to talk about what comes after. Because until someone does that, until there's a real reckoning in the inner circle, we're going to keep watching this unfold in real time. And I'll keep making videos. But at some point that gets sad. Let me shift gears entirely for a second because this is a business channel at heart, and I want to talk about the actual economics of what's happening. Because the cultural story is entertaining, but the financial story is what's going to determine where Aubrey Graham is in 5 years. So let's look at the streaming numbers first. Drake's catalog is still generating enormous numbers. He is still one of the most streamed artists in the world on a monthly basis. The passive catalog income alone, the royalties from God's Plan, One Dance, Hotline Bling, started from the bottom. That doesn't go away because Kendrick had a better year. That money keeps printing. So financially, Aubrey is not in danger. He is not a man on the verge of bankruptcy. He is not Ja Rule in 2004. He is still worth hundreds of millions of dollars, still living in a mansion, still flying private. But, and this is a massive but, the future trajectory, the next 5 to 10 years, is the part that should concern him. Because streaming income is increasingly tied to cultural relevance. When you fall off the conversation, you fall off the playlist algorithm. When you fall off the playlist algorithm, your new music gets less push. When your new music gets less push, your catalog starts aging differently. It moves from current legend to nostalgic catalog. That's still money, but it's a different kind of money, and it's a different kind of status. And right now, Aubrey is accelerating his own transition from current legend to nostalgic catalog by refusing to make a credible comeback. Every month he spends liking conspiracy tweets instead of dropping heat is a month the algorithm rewards someone else. Every week he lets go by without giving the culture something to talk about on his own terms is a week Kendrick or Cole or Glorilla or Sexy Red, or whoever the next wave brings, gets that algorithmic real estate instead. The label situation is genuinely interesting from a business perspective. His deal with Republic/UMG is rumored by a lot of people online, not confirmed, to be in a renegotiation window. And the timing of everything, the lawsuit, the conspiracy likes, the vague social media posts, has led people to speculate, and I think credibly, that this is all part of a leverage play. You build a narrative that UMG suppressed you, that the industry is against you, that you're fighting a rigged system, and then you use that narrative to justify either a better deal or a cleaner exit. Now here's the counterargument, and I want to be fair here, the counterargument is that UMG doesn't really care about your narrative leverage. UMG cares about your revenue leverage. And Aubrey's revenue leverage is still real. He still sells. He still streams. He still fills arenas. So even if he's quietly building a public narrative of industry persecution, UMG knows that releasing him would mean their competitor, whatever label picks him up next, inherits that streaming catalog and that artist's power. So there's a mutual hostage situation happening, where both sides need each other but neither side wants to admit it publicly. And the like tweets? In this reading, the like tweets are Aubrey's way of signaling to the industry, I will burn this down. I will go public with the conspiracy. I will bring the narrative war to your doorstep. It's a pressure tactic. It's not elegant. It's not clean. But in the chaotic, ego-driven world of major label negotiation, stranger things have worked. The question is whether UMG... And now, because we've been spending so much time in Aubrey's headspace, let me flip it for a minute and talk about Kendrick. Because Kendrick is doing something that I think is almost as fascinating as Aubrey's unraveling, just in the opposite direction. He's saying nothing. He's doing everything. Think about the posture Kendrick has maintained since Not Like Us dropped. He hasn't done a long interview about the beef. He hasn't tweeted about Aubrey. He hasn't liked posts. He hasn't vague posted. He hasn't given any indication publicly that he thinks about this anymore. What has he done? He toured. He sold out stadiums. He headlined the Super Bowl. He kept dropping music. He let the work speak and then refused to add commentary. That is the posture of a man who knows he won and doesn't need to convince anyone. And that silence, that pointed, loaded, deliberate silence is actually a genius move. Because every time Aubrey does something, the first thing the internet does is look to see if Kendrick responded. Did he tweet anything? Did he like anything? Does he even know? And the answer is always, Kendrick is somewhere in Compton writing his next classic, completely unbothered. And that image, that perception of a man who is so secure in his W that he doesn't even need to acknowledge the loser's continued struggling, is more damaging to Aubrey's legacy than any diss record could ever be. Kendrick is winning the post-battle by simply being too busy thriving to look backward. Now there are some people, and they're not entirely wrong, who say that Kendrick's silence is its own kind of arrogance. That winning a battle and then refusing to acknowledge the fallen opponent is a form of disrespect. And in some codes, old-school hip-hop codes, there's something to that. You beat a man in combat, you shake his hand, you acknowledge the fight. You don't just walk off into the sunset like he never existed. But I think in 2026, in the social media era, the calculus is different. Because engaging, even graciously, would extend the story. And Kendrick has clearly decided that the story is over. He closed the book. He moved to the next chapter. And he left Aubrey outside the library, pressing his face against the glass. The other thing I want to acknowledge, because I try to be honest on this channel, is that winning on this scale comes with its own complicated weight. Kendrick has said in his music, in interviews, that he doesn't want to be the internet's instrument. That he doesn't want to be reduced to a beef narrative. That his art is about something deeper than who clapped who on Twitter. And part of me wonders, genuinely wonders, whether even Kendrick is a little tired of having this be the main topic of conversation around his name. Because Not Like Us is an incredible record. But Kendrick Lamar is an artist with a catalog that stretches from Section .80 to Damn. To Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. He is a Pulitzer Prize winner. He is a generational voice. And as long as every conversation about him begins with "so about Drake," there's a version of his legacy that gets reduced. That said, and this is important, that reduction is entirely Aubrey's fault. Because Kendrick tried to close the chapter. With Not Like Us, with the pop out, with the Grammys, with the Super Bowl, gave Aubrey every opportunity to accept the verdict and let both of their legacies evolve separately. But Aubrey keeps reopening the book, keeps inviting the comparison, and every time he does, the comparison never goes in his favor. This is the question that keeps me up at night, not because I lose sleep over Aubrey Graham, but because it is genuinely one of the most fascinating legacy questions in the history of popular music. Where does Drake end up in the story of hip-hop? Because let's be real, the catalog is undeniable. Commercially, statistically, by pure numbers, Drake is one of the best-selling, most streamed, most radio-dominant artists in the history of recorded music. Not just hip-hop. Music. The achievements are real. The impact is real. The influence on an entire generation of artists who sound, dress, and carry themselves in ways that trace directly back to Aubrey Graham. That's real and documented. You cannot erase that. But legacy isn't just about what you created. It's also about how you handled it. And the How You Handled It chapter is being written right now in real time, with every liked tweet and every vague story and every moment of public unraveling. And what's being written is not flattering. What's being written is the story of a man who had everything, talent, money, platform, cultural power, and chose to spend his last chapter arguing with the internet about whether he really lost. Compare that to Jay-Z, who Aubrey is now making his phantom villain. Jay-Z has lost. Jay-Z lost to Nas on Ether. By most accounts, on that specific record, Nas got the better of HOV. And what did Jay do? He built an empire. He became a billionaire. He became the CEO of a sports and entertainment company. He produced award-winning films. He married Beyoncé. He became such a towering figure in American culture that the specific outcome of one rap battle became a footnote in a much larger story. That is how you transcend a loss. That is how you become a legend who is bigger than any individual moment. Aubrey has the resources. He has the talent. He has the infrastructure. He could do the same thing. He could pivot to the executive lane. He could go full mogul mode. He could drop a genuinely introspective album that acknowledges the difficulty of this period and uses it as artistic fuel. He could do 1,000 things that would start rewriting the narrative. But he's not doing any of those things. He's liking tweets. And every day he chooses the like tweet over the leveling up. The legacy gap between him and the ceiling he could reach gets a little wider. The scary scenario, and the one I think is becoming more likely by the month, is that Aubrey Graham's legacy ends up being defined by this period more than by any album in his catalog. That when people write the definitive history of rap in the 2010s and 2020s, the Drake chapter ends not with a triumphant capstone record or a graceful exit, It ends with a man who was on top of the world and couldn't handle coming down, who fought the fall more than he accepted it, who chose the Twitter timeline over the long arc. And that is a genuinely tragic ending for an artist who, at his best, was one of the most skilled, most emotional, most relatable rappers to ever pick up a microphone. Let me zoom all the way out now and talk about what this moment means for hip-hop as a culture. Because this isn't just an Aubrey story. This is a story about what happens when the biggest artists in the genre are forced to reckon with mortality. Cultural mortality, not the literal kind. About what happens when the generational crown gets passed and the previous generation has to figure out its relationship to the new order. Hip-hop is a young person's game in a very specific way. Not in the sense that older artists can't make great music, clearly they can, clearly Jay-Z and Nas and Eminem still make records people care about. But in the sense that the culture itself moves so fast, feeds so relentlessly on novelty, and demands constant reinvention in a way that other genres don't quite replicate. Rock music has its classic rock era and that's fine. Country music celebrates its legends and lets them age into icons. But hip-hop eats its kings, finds the next king, and then it eats that one too. That's always been the deal. And for a long time Aubrey Drake Graham understood that deal and played the game better than almost anyone. He was constantly reinventing, going from mixtape rapper to pop star to trap influence to dancehall to amapiano to whatever the next thing was. Aubrey was always at the forefront, always ahead of the curve, always the first major artist to legitimize the next regional sound. And that constant reinvention was his insurance policy against cultural irrelevance. But at some point, and we can debate when exactly the shift happened, he stopped anticipating the future and started defending the past. And in hip-hop, the moment you start defending the past is the moment the future passes you by. Kendrick's genius, one of many geniuses in his arsenal, is that he has never seemed interested in the commercial game. He's never seemed interested in what's trending, in what's charting, in what the algorithm rewards. He makes what he makes on his own timeline in his own way with his own vision. And paradoxically, by refusing to chase the culture, he's become the culture. That refusal is itself a form of cultural power. And it drove Aubrey absolutely insane. Because Aubrey's whole model was being the culture. Being the guy who knows what's next. Being the artist who shapes the trends. And Kendrick showed up and said, I don't need to shape the trends. I am the trend. And people believed it. And the fact that people believed it was the most destabilizing thing that could possibly happen to someone whose entire brand is built on relevance. So what does this mean going forward? I think it means that the next generation of rappers is watching this and learning. The young artists coming up right now, the ones who are going to be running rap in 5 years, they're watching Aubrey's unraveling and making note. Do not build your identity on being the number one. Build your identity on being specific, authentic, undeniable. Because number one is a position that can be taken. Authentic and undeniable, that's a fortress. That's what Kendrick built. And that's what Aubrey never fully achieved, despite all the numbers. So what do we do with all of this? What's the takeaway from the certified lover boy liking a random Twitter conspiracy in the year 2026? I think the takeaway is this: the battle is over. It's been over. It was over 20 minutes after Not Like Us dropped. But the psychological aftermath, the identity crisis, the narrative warfare, the desperate rewriting of history, that part is just getting started. And we're going to be watching this unfold for years. This is not a one-video story. This is a franchise. This is a cinematic universe of Aubrey's inability to move on. And I, for one, am fully invested. Now, before I wrap this up, because I know some of y'all are already typing in the comments, I need to tell you about something that ties directly into this, and it's actually why I think the timing of these likes is so suspicious. There's a whole separate situation brewing between Roc Nation, Live Nation, and the Super Bowl production team about next year's halftime slot, and a rumored surprise guest that people online are speculating could shift the entire hip-hop power dynamic again. And what that guest is rumored to be, and how it connects to the Kendrick camp, and what Aubrey's team allegedly tried to do behind the scenes to block it, you really need to see the video I did on that to understand the full picture. Because everything I just laid out in this video is chapter 1. That video is chapter 2. And chapter 2 is where it gets really crazy. So check out the video on your end screen right now. Tap in. Let me know in the comments, do you think Aubrey genuinely believes Kendrick was a pawn? Or is this a calculated leverage play for a label exit? Do you think the OVO camp has any strategy left? Or is this just cope on a Tuesday night? Are you tired of the revisionism? Or are you entertained by watching it unfold in real time? Drop it below. Shout out to everybody in the Discord, everybody on the Patreon, everybody tapping in daily. And listen before you go. If you are new here and this is your first time stumbling across this channel, welcome. You just walked into the most unfiltered, most documented, most receipts-heavy analysis of this entire saga that exists anywhere on the internet. We have been covering this since like that dropped. We were here for every diss record. We were here for the lawsuit filing. We were here for the Super Bowl. We have the timestamps. We have the clips. We have the full picture. So if you want to catch up on everything you missed, the full timeline, the full context, the full breakdown, there is a playlist linked in the description that will take you from the beginning to right now. Watch it in order. It will make you understand this moment even more deeply. And if you've been here since the start, since the early days when people were still debating whether Kendrick would even respond, you already know what this channel is about. Real talk. No bias. No cap. Full analysis. Every time. Hit the like button. Hit subscribe. Share this video with someone who still thinks Aubrey has a plan. Let them watch this and then we'll talk. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Keep it a legend.